Happy 2025, everybody. What's going on there, Scott Touron? Happy New Year.
God, it's hard to believe we're here already. I swear to God, it was just 2024 yesterday.
I mean, just yesterday.
It flies by, dude. It's
all
ridiculous.
Our troubles seem so far away.
You know, when you average more than a podcast a week, time does fly. And that's exactly what we did, by the way.
I know. It's crazy. Well, welcome back to the Brewery Underground podcast, our first episode of 2025, and how exciting this is. And you know what we're going to do on this episode, my friend?
Can I guess?
Go ahead.
We're going to review 2024.
What? Is that what we're doing?
We got to, man. We had so much stuff that we got, and we're barely scratching the surface, but we had so much stuff in 2024. We got to review it, don't we?
We got to talk about it.
Yeah, for history's sake.
For history's sake, for documentation's sake, we're going to do it. We are going to talk about our awards from beer today. We're going to talk about our stats. And you know what? I have a stat right here.
Ooh.
My first beer that I'm checking in for the year of 2025 on the Brewery Underground podcast. Okay. This is going to be from Brink Brewing in Cincinnati on the west side. It is Moozy. Liz, this is Moozy.
If I recall, on one of the few last podcasts we did in 2024, that beer came up, I believe, when we were talking to Liz. I think there's some discussion about that series, if I recall.
Well, I have to give a shout out to her because she gave me this beer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Which one is it?
Well, this is Moozy. This is
it's called Moozy. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. It wasn't Moozy like a whole series or something, or was Moozy just the name of the?
Well, they normally do. Moozy is one, but they were doing a special whole stout series.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Around Thanksgiving when I was up there. Yeah. Remember the Oreo Moozy and a few others. Yeah.
That's right, because it wasn't the one about a spicy one too, or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I seem to recall. You know, it was last year. I can't remember everything from last year.
I know. I mean, last year, for God's sakes. Yeah. But
think how we record these things.
It's one of their flagship beers.
Nice. I'm going to stick with the last podcast we did last year, Steve. The last beer I drank in 2024 was a Marble Fox, if you recall. And it was the no crust. And it was the great one. And I had said something about they had added some additional peanuts to it and that you're going to like it. And by the time this podcast comes out, you will have had it. So on that note, they have another version of it, no crust, raspberry. So that was a great one. This is brand new. This is raspberry. So we're going to have a new beer in the new year.
All right.
No crust raspberry, peanut butter and jelly.
All right. Well, we're going to get right into some of our stats, and we're even going to go through some of our awards for beers that we had in 2024.
Yeah, we'll give some awards away. Yeah, we have a name for these awards too, Steve. Would you like to kind of tell what the name of the award is?
Are we calling it the BUPA Awards?
I think the BUPA, Brewery Underground Podcast Awards. Could go BUPA. I think BUPA sounds good.
You say BUPA, I'll say BUPA. We'll figure it all out, right?
It's an award. It's an award.
It's an award. That's right. All right. Well, you know, we compiled some stats from the past year in 2024, and here are some of mine. So last year, I checked in 287 new beers. I had 287 new beers.
Oh, that's
unique. I checked
in
328 total in 4 different states. In 100 different styles. Marzen was the top style for me. That, interestingly enough, not rating very high on the Untappd crowd. It's number 25. Sundays are the days that I have the most beers, probably if I'm watching football and I just can't take it anymore. So it's like, give me another beer. So I had 91 beers on Sunday. That's throughout the year. That's a total. Through 48 venues, I checked in beers from 113 breweries, and on Untappd, I got 312 badges. How about those numbers?
Those are pretty good numbers. The Sunday one blows me away. I would guess most people were Saturday. Yours is Sunday. They're close, but you still got more on Sunday. And I'm going to guess the number 25 for March, it's probably because it's seasonal. You're not gonna get it all year round in most cases, so that's probably why it's the 25th. But still ranks pretty high because we all love Oktoberfest.
Well, and there was a time this year where my entire refrigerator was full of Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
The Hill Tappers, our buddies up in Louisville, they're probably happy to know that because they're also Oktoberfest guys. So shout out to them.
Yeah.
Oktoberfest power, man.
Yeah, I think they talked about when we were on their happy hour with them. They had gone to Party Source and just loaded down with everyone they could possibly find.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and there are a lot out there, especially a place like Party Source. You might find 30 from brewers all over the place.
Well, and we did last year. We did a couple of Oktoberfest special series podcasts, and so I was doing a lot of market research for those.
Yeah.
And so I think that brought up my numbers.
You really were, actually, because you did try a bunch because you wanted to kind of get that feel. Mm-hmm.
And not only that, I mean, some of them I went out and bought on 6-pack. So at one point I had a 6-pack in my refrigerator of like Sam Adams Oktoberfest, Nashville Fest beer, Sierra Nevada, Ultimate Oktoberfest. I had 4 cans of that, and also the Hofbrauer as well. So I had a ton that I had to drink.
Yeah.
For market research.
We had about a month worth of Oktoberfest stuff.
We did.
Right. So there's a lot of research that went into that.
Yeah.
You have to know. You have to know what you're talking about, right?
You do. You got to keep going on.
Yeah.
Well, you had some pretty impressive numbers too. Actually, a lot more impressive.
They're kind of stupid, honestly, but it's they're kind of what they are. So I've had 1,602 unique beers, and this is all per Untappd's year in review thing they send you at the end of the year. So this is per them. 2,086 total check-ins, 6 different states, 178 different styles. Already out of breath. New England IPAs was my top style, and it's the number 2 most checked in Untappd. I had 587 beers on Saturday. I wish I had my Sunday number because I think it's still the second high. No, I think it's Friday was second and maybe Sunday was third. I don't remember. 186 venues, checked in beers from 401 breweries. That's ridiculous. And 442 badges. So I don't get a lot of badges comparatively to the number of beers I check in because I've exhausted I've leveled out on a lot of them, but that's per Untappd. So I think every time that thing comes out, we're stats guys, right? We're baseball guys. It's neat to see your numbers, There's actually more stats than that. I just kind of picked out those are a little more interesting than some of the other ones. But yeah, it's fun, just to see what you did and what kind of damage you did over the year.
Mm-hmm. Well, my highest ranking of any beer, and this was breaking news on our last podcast, the end of 2024, was the Juicy Vivacious from Great Lakes. I rated that as a 5.0, the only one of the year.
Yep.
And my most checked in breweries was Tailgate here in Nashville at 11 and Southern Grist at 10.
Yeah, if anybody listens to the last episode, that was breaking news. That went from number 4 on your favorite beers
ascended,
to number 1.
Vaulted, catapulted, all the way. Catapulted. It boomed.
Catapulted
all the way to
wow, just shot past everything else. Didn't even stand still. That's cool. I only gave one new beer a 5 this year. In 2024. I have other beers that are 5s, but this was my only beer that I gave a 5 to that was new this year, and it's Nashville Brewing Fest beer. I've had it before, and kind of like you with Vivacious, it got better. My rankings of it and ratings of it got better. And I was like, you know what? Why is this thing not a 5? I do love that beer. It progressively got better every time I drank it. I just loved it more and more and more. It's just a pure fest beer. So my most checked in breweries was Tailgate at 109, and second was Southern Grist at 95. So a lot of flights there.
Stock of those places.
Actually, I need to invest 10% or something.
I'm telling you.
There, but that's a lot to do with flights, especially at Tailgate. Yeah.
Yep.
I buy a lot of grist in cans because every time they come out with something on Fridays, I usually go by and grab it. So there's a lot of that, but there's a lot of flights in there too.
All right. Well, some of the top beer styles that I had of 2024 were New England IPAs and American IPAs, double Imperial IPAs, rounding out sour fruited, double Imperial New England IPAs, Pilsner, Marzen, Pale Ale, American Lager, and German Pilsner. That is a whole lot of big list.
It is. Anything on that list surprise you as far as style goes? There's a lot of IPAs on there with different categories.
Yeah. No, that's a good. That is. Yeah, we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
That you get to know yourself a little bit more. Apparently, I am becoming more of an IPA guy. Now, I've always known that I've liked New England IPAs more. No, that would probably be the only real surprise that I would have. It's interesting though, like that we put in the categories like fruited and sour fruited are sort of like in the same category. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that number doesn't necessarily surprise me. I probably more fruited than the sour fruited.
Yeah, and Untappd's got some of their categories, like the IPA categories. There are way too many of them. You might have, I think there's a dozen different versions of IPAs within Untappd. Some of those could probably merge together. I think the same thing for the lagers. There seems to be about 20 lager categories within Untappd too. I get it, but some could probably be merged. But anyway, that's just statistics. But yeah, I'm kind of the same way as you. I'm mostly IPAs. The thing that surprised me on my list is sour fruited, and I like them. You know, those are your grists and shoot this Marble Fox I'm drinking, those kinds of things. But it's like fourth, and then there's my double imperial New England IPAs are after that. So the fact that it's kind of fourth for me was a little surprising. I'd figured it'd be top 10, but and the rest kind of falls into place: Pilsners, Oktoberfest, Marston's, Pale Ales, American Lagers, and German Pils. So
yeah, like sour fruited are my number one. And there's sort of some ties with the American IPAs and the New England ones. Yeah. The one that actually kind of surprised me is the pale ales that are falling down in my category a little bit. I think if you would have asked me 2 years ago, I probably would have been more of a pale ale. My numbers would have been a little bit higher, but the lagers, I'm still up there pretty good on lagers too. But I think IPAs are starting to take over a little bit more in my life.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of pale ales like we used to. Like everything's 90% of it seems to be an IPA. The fruited sours, of course, and these lagers are getting much better, as we've mentioned many times. So hence, kind of moving up our lists in our numbers. But I think it's all pretty fair. It's I would say that's, if I were to get a flight, there'd probably be something of every one of these styles on that flight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, maybe an oddball here or there, but I mean, I'll drink anything. These just happen to be kind of the top. I guess it's 10 there. So, but. It's just fun stats, and it's nice to see what you did.
I know. Those are some of our stats, and there's some other things we want to talk about this coming year that we want to really focus on. And I know one of the things that I noticed from me last year, Scott, because there's, we become repetition sometimes. Sometimes you go to the same breweries all the time because you like the beer, and then you go, oh my gosh, I haven't been here for a while.
Yeah.
I haven't been there for a while. I talked about Brewery, and I have got to get back to Brewery more. I have to find a way to get back to Brewery more. It's such a great place.
Yeah.
Black Abbey is the same way. I mean, Carl Meyer does such a great job, and that's one of the original founding breweries in Nashville, and certainly love Black Abbey. So I got to get back there a lot more. Tenfold is another one. Bearded Irish, New Heights, Fat Bottom, Yazoo, and Half Batch, and they're all in that same area. If I had to talk about breweries that I really want to visit a little bit more in 2025, that would be another one. And then on our last podcast, when we were talking about, and this made my top 10 list of new favorite breweries, Common John.
Yeah.
In Manchester. I've got to get back down there at least once or twice this year. Maybe start there for breakfast.
Yeah, it's going to be probably the furthest one you go out to, unless you're headed to Chattanooga or something. But yes, get that done, and then go from there.
May have to contact our buddy Mitch from the Foamy Heads, who lives in Chattanooga, and say, hey man, you want to make the hour drive? I'll make the hour drive, and we can meet in the middle and hit breakfast, and then kind of go from there. Common John.
You could spend many hours out there too.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know. And there's a couple of breweries. I know you have been to these, and I have not been to these yet, that I hope to get to in 2025. I have yet to get to Broadcast Brewing.
Right.
And I know that that's one of the newer breweries that have been open this year, and you really like Broadcast Brewing.
Broadcast Brewing, and I'm a little overdue. I've only been twice, and I think he's expanded his taps since I've been in last, so he's added some more. So I definitely would get back over there and hope to go with you. And it's, luckily that one's in Nashville, so it's not terrible to get to. It's just kind of, you got to get yourself over there. It's not necessarily in the path of where we normally go.
Yeah, definitely. Well, another brewery I've not been to, and I'm thinking the next time I go to Lebanon and I head on over to East Nashville Beer Works, I'm also going to hit 10 Lakes. I've heard really good things about 10 Lakes, and hopefully with other breweries that have opened up in that area, that's going to help elevate them too.
10 Lakes, and you want to add Cedar City to
Yeah.
that list too. That's kind of right around the corner. So.
Yep. And then another one I know you have been to, and I believe a couple of, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, like you and Stokes and Chris Finnan have been out there. Calf Killer out in Sparta,
Yeah.
Tennessee. Now that's a bit of a haul, I know, but certainly would love to get out there.
Yeah, it's good. What you do is when you go to Calf Killer, you make a day and you get into Cookeville.
Yeah.
So there's another one in Sparta, which is called Happy Trails. That's there. So you can hit two kind of in Sparta, even though they're not really close to each other. And then Red Silo is one in Cookeville that you want to hit. There was a couple others that are gone now, but dude, that's a full day. Even just those three breweries, because of the distance there, the distance back, it's a full day. But yeah.
Oh yeah, it's been a long time, but I've been out that way, near Sparta, Tennessee, and it's like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
If
you're it is
coming from Nashville. I mean, you were driving in rural areas for a while, but
yep.
Sometimes those rural areas with breweries, man, that's a great time. That's a great day, and it sounds like Calf Killer is one of them.
They've got a really cool spot out there. It's just neat. They got a nice outside area, and you got to watch the hours because they're not open late in certain days, so they're a little different there. So just watch those things. But yeah, it's definitely worth the trip out there. But just make a day trek out of it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I know that at some point you and I and probably some others are going to get up to Cincinnati and do a big trip this year. I know, I'll probably make it back up there a couple of times, but there are so many breweries in Cincinnati that are still on my target list, and I've hit a lot of them. But I know we talked about going to, we've not been to Deadlow yet. We've not been to Little Miami, Cartridge, Warped Wing, Narrow Path. I mean, and if you know that area, I mean, some of them are way on the east side, and then some of them are way north of town, in a different county. And those are really highly raved about breweries that I really want to get to.
Yeah, we always try to plan kind of geographically, too, and sometimes you just got to work your way there. Start at a certain spot to kind of catch those. Is really some of the reasons we haven't been to some of those, but we're going to get to them all eventually.
Yeah,
that's the plan. Let Cincinnati keep opening more because it just gives us more to keep going back for. I don't want to ever go to every single one. I want there to be more to go to when we go back.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there's some other, I don't know about you, but there's some other breweries on my radar too. And I know we've talked about heading up to Cleveland, Ohio, because we had the folks from Great Lakes Brewing on last year. And we really want to get the Great Lakes Brewery in Cleveland because that's a great place.
Yep.
I've had some of the beer from Hop and Frog in Akron, so I certainly would love to get there. At some point, I'm going to go back up to see some friends up in like the Holland, Grand Rapids, Michigan area. And can I tell my story, my full complete story as to why I didn't get the Founders
You sure?
last year, and I want to go to Founders? This is just one of those, ironic, unique stories. It's a happenstance story that it could have been any event going on as to why I didn't go to Founders. But the great thing about the funny thing about Founders Brewery, it's a legendary brewery up in Grand Rapids, and I had planned to go there. And when I was going to go up there last year, and I did go up there last year, the day that I had planned to go with a buddy of mine, he lives in Holland, we were going to go to a baseball game, and Founders was on our list to go to before the game. However, we found out a couple of days beforehand that there was going to be this big national event that was going on at an arena, which would have been about 600 yards from Founders. Now, this could have been any event. It could have been, you talk about any rallies, any kind of thing that you would go, no, I'm going to avoid the crowds. I'm going to avoid it. We'll never get there. It just so happened that President Trump, he's now president, at the time he was campaigning, was going to be doing a rally the week after that shooting had happened with him in Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah.
He was going to do a rally in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and it was going to be at an arena that was going to be like 600 yards from Founders.
Yeah.
And it was going to be at the time that I was going to Founders. And I went, imagine that in your life. I've not been to Grand Rapids ever in my life. And the one time I want to go, there's a big event going on. There was going to be security all around. It was going to be a traffic gridlock, traffic nightmare. So didn't make it to Founders. So hopefully the next time I go up there won't be any big events surrounding Founders, and I can go in and enjoy the beer.
Yeah, and thank God you didn't even attempt it, because you know how a political candidate or a president will come through town here.
Yeah.
Whether you're anywhere near, it just destroys traffic everywhere.
Yeah.
Because it just
bottlenecks traffic.
Everything. Just it's all a mess. So
yeah, and we don't talk politics on this podcast.
No.
It was just a circumstance thing. It could have been, like I said, it could have been any event that happened, but it would have been just like a security nightmare for us to probably even try to get through it, of all the obstacles and everything else. So that was kind of funny. And then the other brewery that's up that way that I really want to get to, it would be a great road trip, is Bell's in Kalamazoo. So if I get up there,
I would love that. We're trying to get them on here, so we've actually had some conversations. So maybe we can get that figured out.
And if I end 2025 without going to Zool and Knoxville, man, I don't know. You're gonna have to take my temperature.
Yeah, you got to put it on your list, and then just Knoxville in general. Get Zool, but man, there's other great places there too. So you can make a whole weekend out of it if you want to. But Zool's got to be high on your list.
That's right. That's right.
For sure.
All right. Anything on the target list for you?
I've got, a couple things. There's a couple local places I haven't been to. You've been to this one, Tailgate Murfreesboro, and I haven't been out there yet for that one since it's open. And then Tailgate Hendersonville. I want to hit those to say that I've hit basically every brewery in the Nashville area. Both of those are a little out, but kind of in the area. I want to get back to, when I haven't been. So the Clarksville area, we've talked about this a couple times.
Yeah.
We don't go to Clarksville for pretty much anything. I don't have any reason to go to Clarksville except for breweries. They've got 5 or 6 or 7 there. Kind of a trek I want to get to this year. Just go check the box, and then we've been there and I've done that, and that'll be that. And then even Columbia, they've got a few down that way. And I think they're a little spread out, but maybe do that and knock some of those. Just again, been there, done that. Put as many notches in your belt as you can, and
check them off,
and say you've done. They're close enough where you can. We don't find ourselves in those areas. So those are kind of the local things that I want to do. I'm going to do Great American Beer Fest again later this fall, and we'll add some. Whatever city we add before that, a couple days doing that. We'll see what the year. I want to do some more beer fests this year. Maybe attend a few more. We'll get there. But towards the end of this podcast, I've got some goals. Maybe we can go through some of that too, and got a few of those things on there. So for 2025.
All right. So are we gonna hand out our awards now? Is that what's up next?
Let's hand out some BUPAs.
The BUPAs.
The BUPAs. And you and I have got we have the same styles, but we actually have different beers and breweries for each style between us. So there's really 2 awards for every category.
Okay. Yeah, this is kind of fun.
Yeah.
So I will start. The BUPA Award for my favorite best beer in 2024 goes to the Sierra Nevada Oktoberfest.
Whoa, all right. All right. All right. I'm going to stick with the same category. The favorite Fest beer is Fest Beer from Nashville Brewing Company here in Nashville, Tennessee.
Go, Scott Murray.
Keep doing what you're doing there.
We love you, brother. We love you. All right. So my favorite Marzen for the BUPA Award category goes to, ta-da! It was almost my number 1 in 2024. It ended up my number 2, the Ultimate Oktoberfest from the brewery I was just talking about, Founders in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Absolutely. And that was number 1 for a few minutes.
It was. More than just a few minutes. Actually, a few days. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, half the dang year. What are you talking about? Yeah,
that's true.
No, probably for a couple of months.
And I know this Fest beer and this Oktoberfest thing, you could split hairs and talk about they're the same thing and all, but we're doing this for fun, and we have just broke them out in little different categories. So
that's right.
So my favorite Oktoberfest Martin is Excessive Mischief by Fela Force.
Yeah.
I had it this fall, and we went there, and they had their Fest beer and their Martin on at the same time, and man, they were both killer.
Really a good place. Absolutely. Yes. Well, moving on, the BUPA Award category for Belgian Blonde is going to our good friend, our buddy. We love him to death. We've had him on the podcast. Black Abbey the Rose. What a great beer.
It's very good. And one of their staples and one of their core beers. You can find it anytime you want.
A long time.
Yep, absolutely. In the same category, Belgian Blonde, I went with the BUPA goes to Parlor Games, Fela Force again.
All right.
I hope they didn't leave the stage for the Martzen, because they just have to come right back up again.
Fela Force getting a lot of love. Well, my BUPA award for the best Belgian double goes to Tennessee Brew Works for their Double Neck.
Double Neck, very good. Another local.
I love that name, by the way.
It is a good one. All right, my BUPA for the Belgian double goes to Crazy Gnome for their Cruella double, aged and barreled at 8.9%. So something really good from those guys.
Nice. Okay. Well, moving on to the BUPA Award category for Best Brown Ale. I got to be honest with you, I'm not a big brown ale guy. However, this one I liked. I also love the name. This was Big Lake Brewing in Holland, Michigan. It was the Leroy Brown.
I remember when you brought this up on the podcast. I think I started singing Bad Leroy Brown.
I think you did. Yeah.
I think there might have been
recovered.
I think there's a post with that on there too.
Yeah.
All right. So my BUPA for the American Brown Ale goes to Sierra Nevada. It's called Trip in the Woods, Avila Abbey Ale, Ovila. Aged 1 year in a brandy barrel. And I may have gotten a bottle from Winter Warmer when we left in 2023, at the end of 2023.
They do so many great beers, don't they, Sierra Nevada?
They do, yeah. And, again, a barrel-aged one is still killer.
Yeah, it's so funny. Okay, so my BUPA Award category for Best Cream Ale. This is so funny. When I started going through my stats, and I went, oh, how about that? I only had one cream ale in 2024. It just so happened it was at the tail end of the year, and it was the Peanut Butter Crunch from 903 Brewers that I ended up getting. So that's pretty funny.
Beautiful. Seems like we just talked about that one.
We may have, yeah.
It seems very familiar.
Yeah, I had gotten that from Mr. Brewers on tap at Mr. Brewers in Murfreesboro.
Yeah, 903 seems to be doing some really good things.
Yeah.
All right, cream ale, BUPA, goes to what's called Raspy Foot from Half Batch Brewing in Hendersonville, Tennessee.
Yeah, all right.
And I'm like you, I didn't have a lot of cream ales myself, so I don't even have any, but it wasn't many.
And now I'm starting to be kind of fascinated. I'm going to have to do a little more research on how popular cream ales are. Now you got me curious.
There don't seem to be a ton of them, but maybe there are, and I keep missing them.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm going to have to do a little market research. All right. So the BUPA Award category for my favorite farmhouse saison is a tie with Tennessee Brew Works. They're Basil Ryman and their Brewery Vivant.
Wow, both from Tennessee Brew Works?
Both, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I know.
Well, congrats to them.
Yeah.
My farmhouse saison BUPA goes to Dark Shadow Brewing, friends of ours.
Yeah.
They're home brewers, and we see them at beer festivals, and it's for their strawberry saison. And when I saw that on my Untappd, I go, hell yeah, Dark Shadow. I actually remember the beer by looking that up. Congratulations to Dark Shadow for that award.
Well, how about that? Yeah. All right, moving on to the BUPA Award category for IPA Imperial Double, the Great Lakes, the Vivacious, and the Juicy IPA. Imagine that. In my top 10, of course, one of them was number one. That was breaking news.
Well, Great Lakes, don't leave the stage just yet.
That's right.
Because my BUPA for IPA Imperial Double goes to Great Lakes for their Juicy Vivacious, so they're just rack it up. They're like Michael Jackson at the Grammys.
Look at that.
Yeah.
It's funny because you and I, it's not that we don't always agree on things, but we do have a diverse style in what we like.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. That doesn't happen all the time.
All right. and for us, that we got that kind of later in this year, later into 2024. So for that kind of trump everything that we had before, it's amazing.
Yeah, they are definitely onto something with those. All right, so the BUPA Award category for Best Kolsch, for me, it is a tie between Third Turn Brewing, their Swooly, and Dark Shadow, the Watermelon.
Whoa, look at that.
Yeah, how about that?
Congratulations. When there's a tie, do they share the award or do they each get one?
Yeah, I guess so. They're going to have to maybe arm wrestle over it.
6 months in one place and 6 months in the other, something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Maybe a little tug of war contest. We can host that. We should do that. We'll find a place to have a little tug of war contest with people.
That or do a brew off. Each brew another beer. Yeah. Right.
A brew off. I love it.
And we get to sample them.
Uh-huh.
All right. My favorite Kolsch of 2024, the BUPA goes to Tenfold Brewing of Nashville, Tennessee, for their Superstitious Kolsch.
Not surprised.
And I remember having that over at the picnic tap. So.
All right. Well, checking in for the Lager American Amber, the one that I chose was from the Mitten Brewing Company, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Their best side lager.
Awesome.
It's pretty good.
Awesome. So my BUPA for the American Amber Lager is Moderately Extreme from our friends at Marble Fox Brewing Company here in Nashville.
Yeah. All right.
That's another category, another style you don't see too many of, ambers. So when you see them, you usually kind of pay special attention to them. Like, I'm going to get that.
Right. Yeah. It's time to go back. All right. So this was a late entry this year. This happened back around after Thanksgiving. So my category for Best American Light Lager turned into Municipal Brew Works, Hamilton, Ohio. Pouring for Neighbors. It was a very, very light lager. It was like 3.5% or something. Excellent. And so, but I talked about it and reviewed this beer on the podcast when we have talked about the lagers and how much better they're getting. Yeah. This wasn't just a lager you start drinking and going, well, this thing isn't very good at all. Has no balance, has no flavor, has no nothing. It was good. They put a lot of thought into it, and they knew what they were doing.
Absolutely. And a quick note on lagers, we've got several here in a row, different ones. We could have had, the whole thing could have been lagers. I mean, for as many categories as they have.
It's a little complicated.
Yeah, we could have just kept going with that. But we pulled out some ones that kind of stood out. And my favorite American Light Lager is by Southern Grist Brewing Company here in Nashville, Tennessee. And it's called it's called No Regrets. And I did say that correctly. It is No Regrets. Great little fun name, but a really good beer at the same time.
All right. Well, moving on to dark lagers, the BUPA Award category for Best Dark Lager that I have is from Fayette La Force, the Imperial Menace. I remember this, man. That thing was fan-damn-tastic.
Great beer. Great beer. Yep. And named appropriately, too. Mm-hmm. Right? For a dark lager.
It really was, yeah.
And I do love dark lagers, and I think I had a tough time with it. I think I had several that kind of rated the same with an Untappd, and I had to pick one. The BUPA for dark lager goes to Crazy Gnome for their Call of the Void.
All right. Awesome. Well, moving on to the Helles Lager, Fayette La Force comes in again. Beautiful. And I remember this. Their best beer was off the charts, outstanding. Way to go, Fayette La Force, for having the best Helles lager that I like this year.
Crushing it. Just, again, stay on the stage. There might be more for you. All right. My favorite Helles lager for 2024 comes from a brewery that we have several of in this town, and it's Tailgate. It's Tailgate Brewing in Nashville, but they've got one in Hendersonville and Chattanooga and Murfreesboro, and they got a bunch around here. But it's for their Munich Helles Lager project, and I recently just had it. It was fresh in my mind, and it kind of surprised me that I rated that high, but it was a really good beer, and I really like their lager project, what they're doing.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we're probably a little more than almost halfway through the
Yeah.
list now. So we're going through the categories. The BUPA Award category for my the favorite Mexican lager. One of my favorite breweries in Cincinnati. I love this place. Bad Tom Smith Brewing. It was the Don Fernando. I remember drinking that thing on a flight, and I really loved it. And I can't wait back. Can't wait to get back and have it again.
Bad Tom Smith.
Bad Tom Smith. I don't even do that justice.
It is a good place too.
Yep.
All right, my Mexican lager BUPA goes to Half Batch Brewing. We've heard of them before.
I have.
Pedro Fresco Mexican Lager.
All right.
And it's a big fan of that one. And you know what? And that's a category where they had a lot of competition. I really like Mexican lagers, and there are quite a few of them out there.
I have to tell you, that is something that I think this year in 2025 that I'm going to be on the lookout for more of Mexican lagers, because I feel like it's a really good style, and it's probably not a style that I've had enough. So I need to search them out a little bit more.
Yes. And, you know, especially in the summertime because they're really light.
Yeah. So the next category is for favorite stouts in the BUPA Award category. And I remember drinking this. I was surprised that I liked it this much. This was the Stout Irish Dry, and it came from one of my sleeper breweries, Humble Monk in Cincinnati. It was their Blackthorn, and it was a really, really good beer, and it's definitely one that I would have again.
I remember having that beer there as well.
Yep.
Because we didn't stay there a long time, and I think we maybe all got maybe one flight or something, and we were off to something else. So that was definitely one of them. And I do love this category. I love Irish dry stouts.
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, that's probably, it might be more like the Mexican lager. It might be more in 2025 that I seek out more of.
Yeah. You know, Black Abbey had a good one too when we were on with them. We had that. So, but my favorite dry Irish stout for 2024, it's called Dry Irish Stout, and it's probably from a brewery you've never heard of. They're called Emerald Abbey Brewing, and they're home brewers out of the Murfreesboro area.
Okay.
Yeah. And where I had it is when I volunteered at the Oakland's Mansion back in the fall. They were one of the vendors, and it stood out, and I gave it a high rating, and it became my 2024 favorite dry Irish stout.
All right.
So congrats on the BUPA.
Congrats on the BUPA. Well, the BUPA Award category for sweet stout for me goes to our friends Dark Shadow. It is their chocolate raspberry, which was off the charts good.
Well, Steve, you say we do vary in taste sometimes, and we do, but sometimes we are perfectly in sync.
What? How did that happen?
Dark Shadow, stay where you are.
Yep.
You are going to get another award for the same beer, chocolate raspberry stout for the sweet stout category. Congrats to those guys.
We need to ring a bell or something like that. That is just awesome for them.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're moving down to the IPA category. The BUPA Award category for IPA American goes to New Holland Brewing, the Mad Hatter in Holland, Michigan. The interesting thing about this was I did not actually have this at the brewery. I had it the first night I got up to Holland, and there was an outdoor music festival going on, and I walked up to them and I'm like, hey, I just came here from Nashville. And they thought maybe you came here from Nashville just to get our beer. And I'm like, sure, that's a great story. Why not? Right.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah. But when I drank it, I was like, holy cow, this thing is off the charts good for an IPA. And I think this was another one where it started making me believe that I could become more of an IPA guy. I'd have to go back and look, but I think I rated this like a 4 or 4.25 on Untappd.
Do you feel like between the IPAs, and we've got different categories here, and again, it's another category that probably has too many categories within Untappd, not us, that you're noticing the separations in the different styles? They say a West Coast versus a New England IPA versus an American. You kind of...
Yeah, and I've mentioned this before. I mean, the West Coast are probably the IPA of all the IPA styles. The West Coast might be the one that I still haven't completely wrap my brain around, or maybe wrap my palate around yet.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah,
I think it's there might be
it's
some
kind of
out
like,
there.
yeah, it's still kind of one of them things where I go, yeah, okay, I'll try one, and then I'll try something different, of different style IPA, and I'm going, yep, I'm still over here,
Yeah.
and then that one is over here. But
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's subjective thing, so it's hard.
Absolutely. You might like one category, some categories better than others, and
Right.
maybe you'll find that one that on the West Coast, and you're like, oh damn, okay, I get it now, or I like this one, or
I may
something.
have a big celebration when I jump up and down to have a great West Coast IPA.
Yeah.
The day that happens, I mean, it'll become breaking news.
Yeah. Well, we'll have an episode about it.
We will. A whole one.
So my American IPA that I like the best in 2024, the name won't surprise you much because it's probably a lot of people's, but it's Pliny for President, Russian River Brewing Company.
Okay.
They are the kings of West Coast IPAs, and I love Pliny. I've had Pliny many times. Pliny for President was brand new to me this year at Great American Beer Fest, so high on the list, and it is really, really hard to beat. So congrats to Russian River for the BUPA.
Yeah. Well, my BUPA for New England IPA, man, there is a 3-way tie here.
What?
A 3-way tie.
Oh, well, it's going to be a fight to the death.
I mean, well, a fight for who wants to win. So it was the New Holland Tangerine Space Machine, which I actually had after I had the New Holland Brewing Mad Hatter. So I had those back to back, right?
Damn, yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, the 3-way ties between the New Holland Tangerine Space Machine, the Rheingeist Misty Dawn, and Highwire's Electric Squeeze Hazy.
Wow.
So a 3-way tie.
They're all in good company.
They are.
Very nice. Good choices.
Go.
Very good choices.
Thank you, sir.
All right. My favorite New England IPA goes to a brewery I have not mentioned yet today, and it is kind of hard to believe. It's inevitable. It's coming, but it's just because of where the category sits on the list. It's the only reason. My BUPA for 2024 for the New England IPA goes to Burial Beer Company out of Asheville, North Carolina, and it's called "These Are the Profound Discoveries I Now Wear as Skin," which made my top 10 list of beers in 2024 too. So,
just the name alone, I want to get with the marketing people and say, tell me about this. Why would you put that on a can? I love it. But tell me what went through your mind. I mean, it had to be something that went through somebody's mind that they wanted to put that on a can. Name that beer.
I bet they got a million of these written down, and they just put them on. Like, I don't know that has anything to do with the actual beer, but they got great names. So, like, all right,
I love it.
They're wonderful.
Maybe somebody just wakes up in the middle of the night and they start thinking about it or something.
Like Finnan said, like, if it's only got 3 or 4 letters, or words, it's probably not burials.
That's very true.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes when you're maybe you're getting those and you're going on Untappd and you're looking at like, Lord, which one version is this? I can't find it. And there have been times where I've checked in the wrong one. Then you'll come back and you're like, no, that's like the 2022 version. So, wow. Okay.
Well, I want your numbers to be pure. I want them to be correct so that nobody can ever argue them. You get the pure numbers.
I know, because people are arguing with me left and right on what I'm doing on Untappd. I'm glad people pay attention. All right. Well, here we go. The BUPA Award for New England Double IPA. Man, oh mercy. We have another 3-way tie.
Wow.
What?
Yep. You just love handing out awards, don't you?
I do. Yep. You got to make it. I guess you got to make it fair. All right. So it is Living Waters Nymph here in Nashville. It is Southern Grist Hoppy Tomes here in Nashville. And then 11th 3 Brewing, the DDH Curious Stars. All very good beers.
Very, very good.
New England double IPAs.
Very, very good. And by the way, disclaimer.
Mm-hmm.
The categories that some of these beers are, Untappd picks them. They're already predetermined in the thing. So we're not saying it because look, some of these could go either way, I think, in a couple of these cases, but it's as they are in Untappd. The beer's already in there. It's already in a category. That's where we're getting these from. So
That's right.
Just a little disclaimer. Because I swear to God, some of these are some of the same styles, but not according to Untappd.
I don't know.
But it's all good. All good. We're just having fun with it. All right. So my favorite New England double IPA for 2024 that gets the BUPA award is called Timid Little Tyrant from Burial Beer Company. And again, one that was on my top 10 beers for 2024.
All right. Awesome. Well, we're coming down to the final four here.
Yeah.
And we are in the Pale Ale American category for the BUPA Award. This goes again to the Mitten Brewing in Grand Rapids, Michigan. This would be their Goblin Juice.
Very good. Congratulations to them. You know, we talked recently about how we don't see enough pale ales.
I know.
There didn't seem to be as many of them as there once was.
Exactly.
You know, one of these I need to look into, and maybe we'll talk about it, like really the difference between pale ales and IPAs. There's a fine line there.
What do you think it is?
I don't know. Like, I think a Zombie Dust, it's so hoppy in so many IBUs, and it's considered a pale ale. So why is that a pale ale and something lesser is? I know somebody knows the answer to that. Yeah, I know. Like, you just think the hops would make it that, but
I don't know. And like even when we before we started doing this episode, we had a larger list because we were going through some Untappd and their categories, and I'm like, this is kind of overwhelming and confusing a little bit because they've got so many breakdowns of so many different things, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, they ought to put me to work for them and let me streamline some of these categories.
Yeah.
There don't need to be 20 different lager styles. And then the only Oktoberfest/Fest beer category is Martin on there. So I feel like that could be broken down a little bit more. But anyway,
I think so.
I digress. Yep. All right. So my BUPA for Pale Ale American is Pretty Bird by Rhinegeist Brewery.
I remember that. That's a really good beer.
It is excellent. Yes, it is. And it's by far one of the best pale ales I have had in a long time.
All right. Awesome. Well, getting down to number 3, this is not really a surprise because I feel like I've only talked about this about a dozen times on previous podcasts. Here we go. The BUPA Award for my favorite porter of the year, perhaps my favorite beer of the year that I drank. From the Mitten Brewing Company, again in Grand Rapids, Michigan, the Peanuts and Cracker Jack Porter.
It has to be. It just has to be.
Oh my God, it is so awesome. Yeah.
I got to have this someday.
I know.
I want to try it.
Yeah.
Especially since you liked it so much too. So.
I know. Yep. All right.
So, 2024 Porter BUPA Award winner goes to Mayday Brewery.
Mayday.
For Tail of the Dragon. And I had it at a beer fest, at Oakland's Mansion Beer Fest they had out there. And it was amazing. And it is a shame that Mayday is not around anymore. They're gone at the end of 2024, so a little bit before that. But anyway, congrats to Mayday for your Tail of the Dragon Porter.
Yes, and certainly best of luck to Mayday. Yeah. All right. Going down the list, my number 2, this kind of coincides with one of my favorite beers of the year anyway that we checked in. Again, the BUPA Award for Best Fruited Sour goes to Southern Grist, the Peanut Butter Strawberry Jelly Hill.
Might not be the OG. It's the OG that I remember as far as the peanut butter and jelly stuff goes. Yeah. That's the first one I remember because I think they've been around since at least 2020, that one. So that was my first chicken of it.
If I had that beer and the Peanuts and Cracker Jack back to back, probably on a flight, but on any other thing, I would be in hog heaven, man. I'd be like, man.
You might be in a diabetic coma too.
Well, probably. Yeah, I don't want to do that. Throw in an IPA or
something.
Throw an
IPA. There you go. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Throw in an IPA to balance it out, or maybe a light lager. Balance it out a little bit. But I'm just saying that would be pretty awesome too to have on a flight.
It'd be a nice palate. Yeah, it'd be nice on your palate. Yep. Yeah. For sure. Yep. Okay, and this is a fun category too, fruited sour. I could have put a half a dozen beers on this one. The BUPA for Best Fruited Sour 2024, PB&J Mixtape Blueberry.
Yes.
From Zool Beer Company out of Knoxville, Tennessee. Now, blueberry was the most recent. I've recently had raspberry. Dude, that ranks right up there too. I could have put that in lieu of this. they're 1A, 1B. I don't know. So Blueberry was there first. I left Blueberry on there, but dude, the last two beers I drank, these Marble Fox No Crust, Jesus, they're in contention now too. So look out for this PB&J stuff, man.
Yeah, and this one from the one you're just talking about, I've had, and it almost ranks up there as well with the Southern Grist. The one from Southern Grist is just a little bit more better for me. So
yeah.
All right. Well, we are the last category here. So the BUPA Award category for a favorite pumpkin beer. I mean, it's not even close.
I agreed.
I mean, there's not even anything close, in my opinion, in the ballpark. I mean, people, if you're coming to Nashville, if you live in Nashville and you haven't been here, or you're coming to Nashville, go to Blackstone, request the Blackstone Pumpkin Ale. If it's not on tap, then wait for it. Just sit there just sit there and wait for it. Say, you know what? I'm not leaving until I can drink this, because Stephen Scott from the Brewery Underground podcast said you need to get this beer. In fact, tell them that.
Yes, tell them that.
Go in there and tell them that.
And they'll listen. I mean,
well, they know us in there too.
They'll say, "Oh, you can stick around and wait. It'll be September, maybe, but maybe you'll be in September already, and it'll be out soon." So I don't know, but
no, the Blackstone Pumpkin Ale. I mean, it's a way cut above the rest.
Yes, it is. So Blackstone, again, don't go anywhere. You're getting this award as well. So my favorite pumpkin beer in 2024, and probably for the last 15 years, or since the first time I ever had it, is the Pumpkin Ale for Blackstone Brewing Company. So congratulations to them. Wonderful beer. It's won gold medal at GABF. It's not real complex. It's nice. It's an ale. It's got just the right amount of spice to it, and it's
exactly. I've said before, it's got a bit of a spicy kick, but it's not anything that makes you go, I don't want any more of this.
Oh.
You actually want more of this.
You do. Like, you would drink multiple of those in a row. Like, that would be no problem. You get some.
I can't really say that about other pumpkin ales.
I wouldn't say that about some of these favorites on my list. I wouldn't want more than, not in a row, one at a time or something. But yeah, that one is really, really good. And I just
and you know what? Can I say something? When we go, because Blackstone and Nashville Brewing is one of our favorite breweries.
Yep.
When we go there, there are places we'll go where we'll get a half pour, or we'll go and get a flight. You don't do that there. You go in and you order the full enchilada. You want what they got.
Because you get Nashville Brewing beer and you get Blackstone all in the same place, all side by side on the tap handles.
Yeah.
And you just want it all. We go in there and I'll take a little bit of Fest beer. I'll take a little bit of the Nashville Brewing Lager or the Amber Ale, or I'll take some pumpkin, or I'll take some Kolsch, or just because they've got very, very good traditional stuff over there, and we do love going in there.
Well, there you go. Well, that is our first time that we've done the BUPA Awards.
Yeah. So check your mailboxes for the winners. maybe there'll be some, probably not. There probably won't be anything in your mailbox.
Scott will show up with an award and he will sing to you. Congratulations.
Yes, that's it. We realize there are a billion more categories. God, we only have so much time, and
we got more beer to drink, man. We don't have time.
That's true. We have 2025 to plan. We've got other podcasts lined up that we're going to be doing some fun stuff. So that was the award ceremony. Thank you very much, everybody. Drive safe. Get home safe. Enjoy the after parties. We're going to continue on, Steve, a little bit after this award.
After parties. That's funny.
Yeah, I'm not sure which ones we're going to, but I'll probably see you at one or two of them.
Probably so.
I wanted to highlight or mention a few things from the podcast from 2024. Yes. So just a few things. We could dive deep, but not really going to do that. When our last episode came out in 2024, that was 54 published episodes. We did 54 episodes in a year. That's averaging one a week. We get some two-parters in there, but 54 is a pretty good pace. We started out at a faster pace. We slowed down a little bit, but we've been a little more efficient at it, I think, too.
Yeah. Efficiency we caught up with, yes.
Yes, we did, and we've got, and I don't know if we'll do 54 next year, but we'll do as many as we can fit in because we have a lot of fun doing it. But I think that's a really good feat 54. If you'd asked me going into, I would have had no idea. I might have said 25 or something, but 54 is pretty good. And we've talked to some really good people. We've had collabs with the Foamy Heads, who's another podcasting group, who are terrific, and we like just hanging out, drinking beer with them. So listen to their stuff. We've had charitable organizations on. We've had our friends on. We've had head brewers on. We've had owners and historians, and we've done virtual happy hours with people and the friends we've met through the beer community and stuff. And, it's just kind of a neat little highlight of some of the things we've done and some of the episodes we've done over the last year.
I think that a lot of what I got excited about was hearing the passion when we would get a lot of the breweries owners on, and even the ones that brew the beer, about what goes into their ideas. And to me, it's when you hear that kind of thing, you're just going, yeah, I want to run out and I want to drink your beer.
Yeah.
And after I've heard you talk about it, now I can really get a better understanding of things. So
yeah,
I think it's been a great resource for people, at least for me anyway.
Oh, 100%.
Drink more.
And most of who we've talked to brewery wise, we've been to most of them, but we're doing stuff now where we're talking to some we haven't been to yet. But now it's Great Lakes is a perfect example of that. Dude, I can't wait to get there. We knew they were good, but just talking to them, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe the research we did and talking to them. Man, we can't wait to get up there now. That we're going to change course on maybe what we were going to do this year, or add some days to make sure we get there.
Gonna have to add some days, yeah.
Gonna add some days, yeah.
Our trip to Ohio, whenever that's gonna be, I don't know, man. It keeps adding and adding, and then we've got some other friends in the beer community. I mean, Liz, for example, every day I'm mumbling. I mean, she's like, you got to do this, and then we got to, yeah. It's like, yeah. Oh, we may not sleep. We're gonna have to put an IV in of
sleep on the
half the time.
Sleep in the car on the way to the next
one. Though, whatever we do.
I've got some personal goals, just some things I like that would be fun, or maybe would like to do in 2025. Maybe add some more regional or international breweries on. It won't be a lot of them because they're big, but maybe get a couple of those, again, places we haven't been, but big names or just some, interesting stuff. Maybe we could do a podcast from an event or beer fest or something along those lines. We find something kind of, we're trying to add different angles within the craft beer community, like brewers associations and maybe beer distributors and things that all tie together but have an interesting point of view or a different point of view, but showing how it all kind of works.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about this before. I think it's fun to mix it up. I mean, I think these kind of shows that we do when we're talking about our favorite beers and our favorite breweries, I mean, we talk to other people in the beer community, and I think sometimes we get a lot of great ideas from them, but they get a lot of great ideas from us. And it's just a big, as you said, it's a big collab of that. And then when we can do that and then, get brewery owners on and get some of the other guys on that have been around for a long time, it just makes for a lot of compelling content.
It does, in between the podcast, but the social media aspect, we've talked about a little bit too. We've met people and we continue to meet people through it. And then we've had happy hours with them and some will be on the podcast and some have been on the podcast. And like, that's a whole nother aspect, but it's a whole community out there, people doing things. And we get to talk about it and we get to meet them, and that's growing all the time. And we're getting compliments from the podcast from people we haven't met.
Yeah.
And they're DMing us, and one's from New Jersey and one's local. I'm like, they're like, keep it up. I'm like, okay, keep listening.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's funny. I think about this sometimes and I go, because, the podcast reach anybody that does a podcast and wherever you put it. I mean, we're up on a lot of different platforms. And I have kind of a wacky sense of humor sometimes, and I go, maybe there's somebody in Antarctica that's sitting in a tent someplace, and maybe they're in their little tent one night, and they're just on a big exploration, and they're going, I want to listen to a podcast, and all of a sudden, the Brewery Underground podcast they're listening to. Now, that's probably not happening in Antarctica. I know this, everybody.
Hey, it only takes word of mouth from one person to another.
But I would love to know, like, where would be like the most distinct place that somebody might be listening to us? Like, is there somebody in say like Africa, or maybe there's somebody, just sitting around someplace in another country and they're craft beer people, and all of a sudden they just came across a podcast and they're listening to some and they're like, who are these guys? I don't know.
Well,
it's probably not happened, but it kind of makes me laugh that it actually could happen.
Well, it's funny you say that. So I just got on Spotify, and it gives you your kind of your analytics and stuff, audience demographics, and it's got the men and women ratio and age groups and stuff, but it says geographic location. So as you can guess, 99% are in the United States.
Yeah.
There are several countries listed below under it: Norway, Ireland, United Kingdom, Malaysia, Sweden, Mexico. There's a little blip. Somebody in Norway has listened to maybe two people, because it says Oslo County and Vestfold. 80% were in Oslo County and 20%. So somebody in Norway has listened to this.
What if it's like the president of Norway? I don't even know who that would be, but what if like the president of Norway is sitting around going, you know what? I want to listen to these guys do a podcast. That would be kind
of cool. I mean, he needs to come on then with us.
Yeah.
So it's been fun. We're gonna keep doing it, and we'll look for new ways to kind of entertain and stay within the format, because that's the kind of the core of it. But it doesn't have to always be that. We may have bourbon guests on at some point. It's kind of in the bourbon community, but we like bourbon.
We may talk about seltzers and ciders. Oh wait, we already did that. So that's we probably don't do that.
There may be another tour coming up that Steve goes on. You don't know. These things come up on a whim sometimes. So
yeah, what kind of tour is Steve going on now?
Yeah, let's see. What's a good one? We draw it from a hat. We'll throw a bunch of ideas in there, and you just.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Maybe a sake tour. That would be good. I would do some sake.
I could try that. Yeah.
Yeah, sake would be good.
Okay, yeah, I may do that.
Okay, something to think about.
Okay, good deal. All right. Anything else?
No, man. I think that summarizes it. We could talk about it for forever, but let's start. We'll start recording history for 2025, putting out some new stuff, and try to do better.
We're going to try to do better.
We'll try to do better.
We will try to do better. That is our promise to you, everybody. All right. Well, we're getting out of here. Brewery Underground Podcast.
Cheers.